Picture day at Crestwood Middle School. Elijah Moore is 11. Clean polo, boots carrying red Georgia clay from his father's farm. He raises his hand.
Excuse me, sir. My boots got muddy. Could I rinse them off before photos?
Principal Prescott stares at the boy's feet. Then he leans into the microphone.
A dirty black farm kid dragging filth into my school. You smell like a barn. You're expelled. Get your bag and get out. Kids like you don't belong here.
The gymnasium goes dead silent. Then, a snicker. A phone tilts up. Every adult in the room finds somewhere else to look. Prescott moves to exam schedules, as if he has not just erased a child. But what he does not know, the boy's father is 14 miles away. In 18 minutes, helicopter rotors will drown out every word in this gymnasium. This assembly will never finish. So, an 11-year-old kid asks if he can clean his boots. And a grown man leans into a microphone and calls him filth. In front of 400 kids. Yeah. I'm Vance Narrator. And I need you to stick with me on this one because what happens in the next 18 minutes, it's not about the boy anymore. It's about the whole damn town. 5:30 in the morning, and Fletcher Moore is already standing in red clay. The soil of Piedmont, Georgia sticks to everything. Boot treads, truck fenders, fence posts, the hems of work jeans that have given up on staying clean. It stains the cuffs of pants a color somewhere between rust and dried blood. Fletcher has stopped trying to wash it out. The clay is the land, and the land is the life he chose when he came home. He owns 2,800 acres of regenerative farmland 90 miles south of Atlanta. Moore Harvest Technologies, his company, employs 41 people and ships organic produce to wholesale markets in 3 states. He built it from scratch in 5 years, using skills the Army taught him and capital the Army did not. Fletcher is 42, former helicopter pilot, 2 tours overseas. He does not talk about the tours. He talks about soil pH, cover crop rotations, and the price of organic feed corn. On the mantel inside his farmhouse, there is a photograph of a woman with dark eyes and a wide smile. Janelle Moore. She passed 3 years ago. Ovarian cancer. The diagnosis came on a Tuesday. She was gone before Thanksgiving. Beside the photograph sits a folded flag. On the rearview mirror of Fletcher's truck, a pair of dog tags tap against the windshield every time he hits a rut in the farm road. He is a single father. His son is the reason he came back to Crestwood. Elijah Moore is 11, 6th grade at Crestwood Middle School. Straight A student, quiet the way some children are quiet. Not from shyness, but from listening. He raises heritage breed chickens for the county 4-H fair and has names for all of them. His favorite is a Rhode Island red with a crooked comb. He calls her Copper. She follows him to the waterline every morning like a dog that has forgotten it is a bird. Every morning, Elijah fills the feed bucket, checks the waterline, and talks to the birds in a low voice that Fletcher can hear from the porch but never quite make out. Then he wipes his hands on his jeans, grabs his backpack, and climbs into his father's truck. His boots always carry clay. They have carried it every day since he was old enough to walk the coop alone. Crestwood, Georgia, population 14,000, 1 school district, 2 economies, agriculture and real estate. And the families who run real estate have run the county board for 2 generations. The school board has 5 seats. The chair is a man named Dale Whitford, 63, who also owns Whitford Construction and Whitford Realty. His name is on half the buildings in town and most of the contracts that built them. He has held the board chair for 11 years. No one has run against him in the last 3 elections. Crestwood Middle School, 620 students. The gymnasium has window unit air conditioners that rattle when the wind shifts direction. The hallway floors are linoleum, waxed once a month, and they hold the smell of every season. Sweat in September, wet wool in January, floor polish in May. The trophy cases near the front entrance display football championships from the 90s. Nothing from this decade. Today is a Tuesday in early September. Picture day. Elijah wears a clean white polo shirt, khaki pants, and the same boots he wears every day, clay and all. Fletcher adjusts his collar in the drop-off line. "You've got this," he says. Elijah nods and walks toward the double doors. His backpack is too big for his frame. The clay on his boots leaves faint red prints on the concrete walkway. By 9 o'clock, those doors will close behind Elijah Moore for what the principal intends to be the last time. The assembly begins at 9. 400 students file into the gymnasium. Folding chairs scrape tile. The overhead fluorescents hum at a frequency that settles behind the eyes like a low-grade headache. The air is warm and close. The window units are losing their September war, and the room smells of warm vinyl and adolescent restlessness. Principal Gerald Prescott takes the stage. Navy blazer, school district lapel pin, clipboard tucked under his arm like a baton. He runs assemblies the way a drill sergeant runs formations, stiff, timed, final. He has been principal of Crestwood Middle School for 9 years. Before that, he coached football. He got the job the way most people get jobs in Crestwood. Someone on the board knew his name. He taps the microphone. "Morning announcements, then dress code and conduct." He reads the announcements. Picture day schedule, cafeteria menu change, library hours. Then he consults the clipboard. His index finger traces a line. He stops. "Elijah Moore, stand up, please." The gymnasium goes still. 400 bodies stop shifting. Elijah is in the 4th row. He stands. His white polo is clean, his khakis are pressed. His boots have red clay on the soles, the same clay that is on every boot in a farming county in September. Prescott points at the boots. He leans into the microphone and his voice fills the gymnasium the way water fills a jar. All at once. No room for air. "This is what I'm talking about. We have standards in this school. We don't need dirty farm kids dragging filth into this building." 400 students stare. Elijah's hands drop to his sides. His chin dips toward his chest. He stares at the floor, at the boots, at the clay, at the thing he has just been told he is. Then it gets worse. A teacher aide named Brenda Holloway sits in the 3rd row of faculty chairs. She is 45, 8 years at this school. She keeps a spiral notebook in her cardigan pocket, a habit from 2 decades of teaching, a way of remembering what institutions prefer to forget. She hears what Prescott says next. He leans slightly away from the microphone, not far enough. His lips move. The words carry across the first 3 rows with the clarity of a bell struck in an empty room. Dirty black farm kid. 6 students in the front row hear it. Brenda Holloway hears it. She writes the phrase down immediately. Blue ink, spiral notebook, block letters. She notes the time, 9:08 a.m. A security guard approaches Elijah. The boy is handed his backpack at the gymnasium door. The door closes behind him with a sound that no one in that room will forget. A flat, institutional click. The sound of a lock finding its place. In the front office, a secretary is already generating an expulsion letter. The stated reason? Conduct unbecoming. Failure to meet hygiene standards. The assembly continues. Prescott moves to the next item on his clipboard, exam schedules, as if a child has not just been erased from the room. In the hallway, Brenda Holloway steps away from the gymnasium door. Her hands are shaking. Her voice is not. She pulls out her phone and dials Fletcher Moore's number. "Mr. Moore, this is Brenda Holloway at the school. I need to tell you exactly what just happened." She tells him every word. Fletcher is standing in the southeast quadrant of his farm, 14 miles away. Wind moves through the winter rye around him. He listens. He does not interrupt. When Brenda finishes, Fletcher asks one question. Is he safe? He's in the front office. He's sitting by himself. Don't let him leave. I'm coming. He hangs up. He does not call the school. He does not call a lawyer. He does not change his clothes or check his reflection or take a breath to think it through. He turns and runs. Not jogs. Runs. Across 200 meters of open field toward the helicopter hangar at the south edge of his property. Red clay kicks up behind his boots. The hangar door rolls open on steel tracks. Inside, a Bell 206 Jet Ranger, the same model he flew for the Army. He has not flown in 3 months. The pre-flight checklist takes 4 minutes. His hands move through it from memory. The rotor turns. At 9:18 a.m., the helicopter lifts off from the Moore farm. At 9:26 a.m., it appears over Crestwood Middle School. Inside the gymnasium, Prescott is talking about the midterm exam calendar. A teacher near the window looks up, then another, then 10. The sound arrives before the sight, a low thrum that builds to a pulse, then a roar that swallows Prescott's voice whole. The microphone is still on. 400 students hear Prescott stop mid-sentence. They hear him breathe. The helicopter sets down on the 50-yard line of the back athletic field. The rotor wash bends the flagpole lanyard flat and sends a paper cup skidding across the track. A PE class on the auxiliary field freezes. A whistle drops from a coach's hand and bounces twice on the asphalt. The engine cuts. The rotors slow. And the silence that follows is the loudest thing Crestwood has heard in 40 years. The gymnasium's rear door opens. Fletcher Moore stands in the doorway. Canvas work jacket, denim, boots caked with the same red clay Prescott just called filth. He is 6'2", broad across the shoulders. His face carries no expression that 400 students can read. His eyes carry everything. He walks, not fast, not slow. Each boot lands flat on the gymnasium floor and the sound travels. A steady beat, like a clock that has just started counting down something that cannot be stopped. Students stand. No one tells them to. Teachers step aside. The assembly is no longer an assembly. It is something else entirely. Prescott is behind the podium. He does not move. Fletcher stops in front of it. The microphone is still live. The gymnasium is silent. 400 people and not a single sound except the faint rattle of a window unit losing its war with September. Fletcher speaks. His voice is low, even, and carries to the back wall without effort. You just called my son a dirty black farm kid in front of 400 children. I want you to say it again. Right now, into that microphone. Say it so everyone hears it clearly this time. Prescott does not speak. His hands grip the podium edges. His knuckles are white. Fletcher continues. Same tone, same volume, same absolute calm. You expelled an 11-year-old for dirt on his boots in a farming county. I am taking my son home now, and then I am coming back with every record you have ever signed. He turns. He walks to the front office. Elijah is sitting in a plastic chair with his backpack on his lap, his feet not quite reaching the floor. Fletcher kneels, eye level. He puts one hand on his son's shoulder. You didn't do anything wrong. Let's go. They walk out the front doors together. The helicopter is still on the 50-yard line. Every phone in the building is already out. Fletcher buckles Elijah into the co-pilot seat. The rotors spin up. They lift off. The shadow of the helicopter crosses the gymnasium roof and disappears over the southern tree line. Inside the gymnasium, Prescott stands alone behind the podium. The microphone is still on. A math teacher finally walks to the stage and switches it off. The click echoes across a room that is already half empty. Students have poured into the hallways, onto the field, pressing against the chain-link fence to watch the helicopter bank south. No one announces that the assembly is over. It simply no longer exists. By noon, 3 cell phone videos of the helicopter landing are circulating on Crestwood's social media. None of them capture what happened inside the gymnasium, only the aftermath. A black helicopter on a football field. A man in a canvas jacket crossing the grass with purpose in every step. A child in a white polo climbing into the co-pilot seat. The videos are shaky, shot through chain-link fence by hands that were not quite steady, and they are everywhere. Crestwood is a town of 14,000 people. By 2 o'clock, it feels like 12,000 of them are talking about the same thing. Fletcher does not post anything. He does not give a statement. He does not return calls from the 2 local television stations that have somehow already found his number. He drives Elijah home, makes him a grilled cheese sandwich, and sits with him on the porch while the boy feeds the chickens. Elijah is quiet, quieter than usual. He holds the feed bucket with both hands and watches Copper peck at the grain without his usual low-voiced narration. He does not ask questions. Fletcher does not push. At 3:15, Fletcher goes inside, sits at the kitchen table, and opens his laptop. He files a formal Open Records Act request with the Crestwood County School District. Not with the school, but with the district's Central Records Office. He requests all security camera footage from the Crestwood Middle School Gymnasium for September 10th between 8:45 a.m. and 10 a.m. He timestamps the submission, 3:22 p.m. He screenshots the confirmation page. He saves both to a folder he labels Crestwood. It is the first entry. It will not be the last. Then he picks up the phone and calls Nora Bennett. Nora is 38, investigative reporter at the Crestwood Courier, the town's weekly paper. She spent 6 years at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution before moving home to care for her aging mother. She is overqualified for the Courier, and she knows it. She has also been waiting for this call, or one like it, for 6 months. I've been collecting tips about Prescott since March, she tells Fletcher. Her voice is flat, factual, the voice of someone who has been building a file and waiting for the file to matter. Parents calling in, same story every time. Conduct unbecoming. Always black and Latino kids, always vague on details, always Prescott's signature at the bottom. She reads him the numbers she has compiled from publicly available disciplinary reports. Crestwood Middle School enrollment, 23% Black and Latino. Disciplinary referrals filed by the principal's office over 9 academic years, 74% are for Black and Latino students. 312 referrals total. 1 principal, 9 years. One pattern that bends in only one direction. Fletcher listens. Through the phone, Nora can hear crickets starting up on the porch and the faint clatter of a feed bucket being set down on wood. There's a name that keeps coming up, Nora says. Dale Whitford, board chair. A parent filed a formal complaint 2 years ago, said her son was suspended for talking back to a substitute teacher. She appealed to the board. Whitford called her personally and told her to, quote, "Stop making trouble or your other kid will have problems too." Fletcher says nothing for a moment. Then, "What else?" A retired clerk from the board office called me once, back in April, said she had documents, meeting minutes, internal records, things she copied before she left. Then she went quiet. I haven't been able to get her back on the phone. I don't know what spooked her. Fletcher files that detail somewhere in the back of his mind. He does not know yet that the retired clerk's name is Dorothy Sams, or that she is sitting in a house 11 miles away with a cardboard box of photocopies she made in her last week on the job. He does not know that those photocopies will become the most important documents in this story. That is still 19 days away. I know a civil rights attorney in Atlanta, Nora says. Terrence Caldwell. He's been looking for a case exactly like this. School to suspension pipeline, racial disparity in discipline, institutional pattern with a paper trail. I can connect you tonight if you're ready. Set it up, Fletcher says. By 9 p.m., Fletcher is on the phone with Terrence Caldwell. Caldwell is 52. He has practiced civil rights law for 24 years. School desegregation cases, employment discrimination, voting rights challenges across 3 states. His voice is measured, precise, the voice of a man who has read 10,000 depositions and learned that the quietest questions are the ones that do the most damage. Don't talk to the school, Caldwell says. Don't talk to the board. Don't talk to the press. Not yet. Let Nora build her story. Let me build the filing. We go back in 3 days. Not with anger, not with a helicopter. With paper. The school district responds to Fletcher's open records request 26 hours later. The response is 1 paragraph on district letterhead. The footage is currently under administrative review for student privacy compliance and cannot be released at this time. No timeline is given, no appeals process is cited. Caldwell reads the response over the phone and makes 1 note in the margin of his legal pad. He underlines it twice. Obstruction. Fletcher stands on his porch. It is almost 10 p.m. The farm is dark except for the hangar light at the south end, casting a yellow cone across the grass. He looks at the table inside where Nora has emailed a preliminary data printout. 312 referrals, sorted, flagged, color-coded. A binder is taking shape. In 3 days, he will walk back into that school. Not alone, not with a helicopter, with something quieter and far more dangerous. Day 3, 10 in the morning. A black pickup truck pulls into the Crestwood Middle School parking lot. Fletcher Moore steps out. White button-down shirt, clean boots, though the red clay is already creeping back onto the soles from the gravel lot. It always does. Beside him, Terrence Caldwell, in a charcoal suit, carrying a leather briefcase that has seen the inside of more courtrooms than most judges have. There is no helicopter today, no rotor wash, no 400 witnesses. This visit is not a spectacle. It is a filing. The school has canceled all full school assemblies since the incident, out of an abundance of caution, according to a memo posted in the teacher's lounge. The hallways are quiet. The linoleum gleams under fluorescent light. A vice principal meets them at the front desk, makes a 4-minute phone call to someone whose voice carries faintly through the receiver, and then leads them to a conference room on the 2nd floor. Inside the conference room, Gerald Prescott, Dale Whitford, and the school district's retained attorney, a man in a blue tie who introduces himself once and then says very little for the rest of the meeting. Fletcher sets a black 3-ring binder on the conference table. It lands with a sound that fills the room the way a gavel fills a courtroom. Definitive, singular, impossible to ignore. 312 disciplinary referral summaries, 9 academic years, sorted by date, by student race, by stated infraction, by outcome. Every entry sourced from district records obtained through the Georgia Open Records Act. Not from the school, but from the central office. Fletcher went above Prescott's head, and Prescott, sitting 4 feet away with his hands folded on the table, can see that now. Caldwell opens his briefcase and places a second document beside the binder, a formal notice of intent to file a civil rights complaint with the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights and a parallel state court action for unlawful expulsion, racial discrimination, and violation of due process protections under Georgia law. You have 72 hours to respond in writing, Caldwell says. His tone is the tone of a man reading a clock. After that, we file. Fletcher looks at Prescott. Same level gaze as 3 days ago in the gymnasium, but the context has shifted entirely. 3 days ago, Fletcher was a father running on instinct and adrenaline. Today, he is a plaintiff with a legal team, a data set, and a deadline. The difference is visible in the room. Prescott leans back in his chair half an inch, the way a person leans away from a document they do not want to read. 312 referrals, Fletcher says. His voice has not changed. 9 years. I'd like to discuss the pattern. Whitford clears his throat. I think we're done here. He stands. He buttons his jacket. The middle button, the only one. He nods toward the door. Caldwell slides a business card across the table. It stops against the binder. Your district council has my number. 72 hours, Mr. Whitford. Fletcher and Caldwell leave. They do not shake hands with anyone in the room. They walk down the hallway, past the trophy cases with their dusty 90s football championships, past the gymnasium where the window unit air conditioners are rattling against the September heat, and out the front door into the gravel parking lot. In the conference room, Whitford turns to Prescott. His voice is low enough that the district attorney leans forward to hear it. Fix this. But it is already too late to fix. Nora Bennett publishes the first article on Friday. The headline in the Crestwood Courier reads, Discipline by Design, 9 years of data at Crestwood Middle. She does not use the word racism. She does not need to. She uses a table. The table runs the width of the page. 9 columns, 1 for each academic year. 3 rows, total referrals, referrals for Black and Latino students, referrals for white students. The numbers do not require interpretation. Year 1, 61%. Year 3, 66%. Year 5, 70%. Year 9, 78%. The trend line moves in one direction. It does not waver. It does not dip. It does not plateau. Below the table, Nora lists 6 representative cases, names redacted, details intact. A Black 8th grader suspended for wearing a hoodie indoors on a 50-degree morning. A Latina 6th grader expelled for disrespectful language after she asked to use the bathroom in Spanish. A Black 7th grader referred for loitering because he waited in the hallway for his mother, who was 3 minutes late for afternoon pickup. A Black 5th grader given an in-school suspension for bringing unapproved food to the cafeteria. It was a bag of plantain chips from his grandmother. The Courier's website receives 28 comments in 48 hours. 12 begin the same way. This happened to my child, too. 3 days after the article, Caldwell files a formal Freedom of Information Act request with the Crestwood County School District. He asks for every Title I expenditure record, every disciplinary policy revision, and every board meeting minute from 2018 through 2024. The request is precise, 14 pages, itemized, with federal and state statutory citations on every page. The district's attorney responds with a 5-page letter. The letter cites student privacy protections, personnel record exemptions, and ongoing administrative review. It provides none of the requested documents. It does not offer a timeline. It does not acknowledge the statutory deadline. Caldwell files a motion to compel in Crestwood County Superior Court the following morning. The motion notes, the district has had 14 business days to respond. Federal law requires 10. The district has produced 0 documents. And then Dorothy Sams calls. She phones Nora Bennett on a Tuesday evening. Her voice is soft, careful, the voice of a woman who has rehearsed this call in her mind for months before dialing. She is 68 years old. She worked as a clerk for the Crestwood County School Board for 30 years. When she retired in 2021, she made personal photocopies of certain meeting minutes, documents she believed might matter someday, though she could not have said why. She kept them in a filing cabinet in her spare bedroom, behind a box of Christmas ornaments and beneath a stack of old Reader's Digest magazines. I have minutes from a closed session, November 2019, Dorothy says. The board voted on something they called a referral optimization initiative. Nora asks her to read the relevant passage. Dorothy does, slowly, as if handling something fragile. The resolution states that the district will maintain a minimum quarterly disciplinary referral count sufficient to ensure continued eligibility for the State Behavioral Intervention Grant. The vote was 4-1. The lone dissent? A board member named Stanley Greer. The grant is worth $1.2 million per year to the district. The more students disciplined, the larger the allocation. The board did not create a behavioral support program. They did not hire counselors or social workers. They created a quota, and they put it in writing. Caldwell retains a digital forensics consultant to examine the disciplinary spreadsheet obtained from the district's central records office. The findings arrive in a 6-page report with an appendix of timestamps that reads like a confession written in numbers. 74 entries in the spreadsheet were batch-edited at 11:14 p.m. on the night before each of 4 quarterly reports. The original date of incident fields were overwritten. The reason for referral fields were changed. Entries that once read, verbal warning, no action, now read, conduct unbecoming, suspension recommended. The edits were made from a single login credential. The login belongs to Gerald Prescott. 11:14 p.m. 11:14 p.m. 11:14 p.m. 11:14 p.m. 4 quarters. Same time, same login, same hand on the keyboard. Then the emails surface. Caldwell's motion to compel succeeds. The court orders the district to produce a partial email archive from the administrative server. One chain stands apart from the rest. Dale Whitford to Gerald Prescott. January 14th, 2023, 7:22 a.m. Grant review is in March. Keep the numbers up, Gerald. We need 110 minimum to clear the threshold. Prescott to Whitford. Same day, 8:01 a.m. Understood. I'll pull from the usual pool. 5 words. The usual pool. It means Black and Latino children. It means Elijah Moore. It means every name on a spreadsheet that was altered at 11:14 on a weeknight by a man in a navy blazer who calls himself an educator. A follow-up from Whitford, March 3rd, 2023. Numbers look good. The board appreciates your diligence. Caldwell retains a forensic accountant, Roger Dalton, CPA, 22 years of practice, to trace how the grant money moved once it arrived in the district's accounts. Dalton's report takes 9 days to compile. It is 41 pages long. The summary fits in 1 paragraph. Between 2019 and 2024, the Crestwood County School District received $4.8 million in federal Title I funds. Of that amount, $340,000 was paid to Whitford Construction, LLC, for a gymnasium HVAC modernization project. The project scope included ductwork replacement, compressor installation, and climate control upgrades for the main gymnasium. The gymnasium at Crestwood Middle School still has window unit air conditioners. There are no building permits on file for HVAC work, no inspection certificates, no purchase orders for ductwork, compressors, or refrigerant. The window units rattle against the September heat the same way they rattled in September 10 years ago. $340,000 for a system that does not exist. In a gymnasium where 11-year-olds sweat through assemblies because the window units cannot keep up. An additional $215,000 was paid to Whitford Realty for temporary administrative office leasing during a renovation period. The district leased office space it already owned at above-market rates from the board chair's own real estate company. The renovation period, according to district records, lasted 36 months. No renovation was ever completed. If you think the email was the worst of it, the real number has not dropped yet. Keep listening. Dale Whitford does not panic. He organizes. Within 48 hours of Caldwell's motion to compel, Whitford calls an emergency closed session of the Crestwood County School Board. The agenda item is listed as Personnel Matter, Administrative Staffing. The session lasts 90 minutes. When it ends, the board issues a one-paragraph statement. The board has placed It's a firewall. The board's move is not discipline, it is architecture. 3 days after the helicopter landing, Fletcher finds an envelope in his farm mailbox. It has no postage, no return address, hand-delivered. Inside, a single sheet of white paper, block letters pressed hard enough to dent the page. "You're not from here anymore. Remember that." Fletcher reads it once. He folds it. He places it on the kitchen counter beside the binder. That same evening, Elijah walks to the chicken coop for the 6 o'clock feeding. The feed bucket swings in his left hand. He reaches the gate and stops. Copper, the Rhode Island red with the crooked comb, the hen Elijah named when she was 3 days old, the one that follows him to the water line every morning, is nailed to the fence post. Head down, wings spread. The nail is through the breast. Elijah stands there for a long time. He does not scream. He does not cry. He sets the bucket down, turns, and walks back to the house. He does not speak for the rest of the night. Fletcher photographs the letter. He photographs the coop. He files a report with the Crestwood County Sheriff's Office. The deputy who takes the report writes 4 sentences and says, "We'll look into it." Fletcher does not expect a follow-up. He does not receive one. Then Whitford plays his second card. He contacts the county sheriff directly and requests an investigation into Fletcher Moore's helicopter landing, specifically whether Fletcher violated FAA airspace regulations or endangered students by landing on school property. The sheriff assigns a deputy. The deputy consults the FAA regional office. The findings arrive in 5 days. Fletcher holds a valid commercial pilot. The investigation is closed with no action. Whitford's attempt to criminalize a father's arrival at his own child's school collapses in a 5-paragraph report. The report itself becomes evidence of retaliation. Meanwhile, the Crestwood Courier's only major advertiser, Whitford Realty, pulls its advertising contract. The paper's revenue drops by 1/3 overnight. Nora's editor calls her into his office. He sits behind a desk covered in rate sheets and old mastheads. "I'm not telling you to stop," he says. "I'm telling you to soften it." Nora stands. "I don't soften things," she says. She walks out, drives home, and calls her former editor at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The governor's office wanted approvals. "We didn't flag it," the official says. "We should have." This is not a conspiracy. It is something quieter and more common, a system that rewards the appearance of problems over the resolution of real ones. Through his attorney, Gerald Prescott releases a written statement. Principal Prescott, the air smells of burnt leaves and cooling clay. Somewhere in the dark, a barn owl calls once and does not call again. Elijah has not spoken in 2 days. He eats. He does his homework. He brushes his teeth and goes to bed at the time he is supposed to. He does everything a well-raised 11-year-old is supposed to do. But he does not speak. He does not go near the chicken coop. He does not look out the back window. Fletcher has tried. He has sat beside him at dinner and talked about the farm, about the harvest schedule, about the new cover crop trial in the East Field. Elijah nods. He chews. He does not answer. On the second evening, Fletcher finds him. Elijah is in the chicken coop. He is sitting on an overturned bucket in the corner holding Copper's nesting box. The straw inside is still pressed in the shape of the hen, a shallow oval, warm-colored, holding the ghost of something that used to be alive and is not anymore. Elijah looks up. His eyes are dry. His voice is barely louder than the sound of straw shifting under his weight. "Dad, did I do something wrong?" Fletcher kneels. The red clay presses into both knees. He puts his hands on Elijah's shoulders. one on each side, firm, steady, the way you hold something you are afraid the wind will take. You did everything right. And I need you to remember that, no matter what happens next. Elijah looks at him for a long time. Then he leans forward and presses his forehead against his father's chest. Fletcher wraps both arms around him. They stay like that. The coop smells of pine shavings and feed dust and the faint copper tang that is not washed out of the fence post. Inside the farmhouse, the kitchen table holds the remains of the day. 2 plates, 2 glasses, a stack of Nora's printouts, Caldwell's business card pinned under a salt shaker. On the mantel, Janelle's photograph faces the room. The dog tags hang on the hook by the door. The binder, Fletcher's copy, sits on the counter, 312 names thick. Fletcher stands at the table. It is 9:49 p.m. The house is quiet, the way only a house with a sleeping child can be quiet, full of breath and empty of sound. He picks up the phone. He dials Terrence Caldwell's number. The call lasts 11 seconds. File it. All of it. 3 words, a breath, and the ground shifts. Elijah has not spoken in 2 days, but someone else is about to speak for the first time, and what she is carrying will change everything. Caldwell files the emergency injunction on a Thursday morning. Crestwood County Superior Court, case number 2024-CV-08312. 42 pages. 3 requests. Immediate reinstatement of Elijah Moore. Court-ordered preservation of all disciplinary, financial, and communications records. Appointment of an independent auditor for Title I fund expenditures. The filing contains every receipt gathered in 13 days. Eyewitness statements, the open records request, and the district's refusal. 9 years of disciplinary data. Dorothy Sam's board minutes, the spreadsheet metadata, the Prescott-Whitford email chain, the forensic accountant's fund trace report, and the sheriff's closed investigation into the helicopter landing. 42 pages. 13 days. 1 child. The same day, Nora's article series is picked up by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and a national education policy publication, School Accountability Weekly. Social media carries the story past the county line. Crestwood's secret is no longer Crestwood's. Then the families come forward. 19 of them. Black, Latino, and white. Each one contacts Caldwell's office. Each one signs a sworn affidavit describing a disciplinary action taken under Gerald Prescott that followed the same pattern. Vague infraction, no due process, no appeal. A black 8th grader suspended for 3 days for wearing a hoodie indoors on a morning when the gymnasium thermostat read 51 degrees. A Latina 6th grader expelled for disrespectful language after she asked permission to use the restroom, in Spanish, and was told she was being difficult. A white 7th grader, Karen Greer's son, suspended 1 week after Karen filed a formal written complaint about the lack of air conditioning in the gymnasium. Karen Greer is 44. Her father-in-law is Stanley Greer, the board member who cast the lone dissenting vote on the Referral Optimization Initiative in 2019. The Greer family has been trying to fight this from the inside for 5 years. They have been outvoted every time. A retired school superintendent from a neighboring county reads Nora's article and calls Caldwell's office. His name is Harold Simmons. He is 64. 30 years in education administration. He reviews Prescott's disciplinary data and agrees to testify as an expert witness. His written assessment contains 1 sentence that Caldwell underlines twice. This is the most statistically aberrant disciplinary pattern I have reviewed in 3 decades of practice. On Sunday evening, the congregation of Second Baptist Church organizes a silent vigil outside the Crestwood County Courthouse. There are no signs, no chanting, no megaphones. 25 families stand in a single line along the courthouse sidewalk. Each adult holds a framed school photograph of their child. 43 photographs. The only sound is wind turning the pages of a hymnal someone has left on the courthouse bench. A photographer from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution takes one picture. In the photograph, the courthouse is in the background. In the foreground, 43 faces of children look out from their frames. None of them are smiling. All of them are in school uniforms. That night, Caldwell's phone rings at 9 p.m. It is Dorothy Sams. Her voice is different now, steadier, almost urgent. I found something else. It was in a storage unit I forgot I had. Dorothy Sams drives to Atlanta on a Monday. She carries a cardboard box in the back seat of her sedan. The box is the kind that holds reams of copy paper, white, unremarkable, the corners soft with age. She places it on Terrence Caldwell's conference table at 10:15 a.m. Inside, the original unedited draft of the Crestwood County School District's 2022 application for the State Behavioral Intervention Grant. Caldwell already has the submitted version, the one the district sent to the Georgia Department of Education. He obtained it through his motion to compel. It sits in a folder on his desk. He opens both documents side by side. The submitted version lists 112 disciplinary referrals for the 2021 to 2022 school year. The original draft lists 38. 38 real referrals, 112 submitted, 74 names added to a federal grant application, children who were never referred, never counseled, never notified. 74 students counted as behavioral problems on a document sent to the state of Georgia and funded by the United States Department of Education. Some of those names belong to children who had perfect attendance records. Some belong to children who had never once been sent to the principal's office. 74 children. None of them problems. All of them counted. Caldwell asks his digital forensics consultant to examine the submitted PDF. The analysis takes 48 hours. The report is 3 pages. The finding that matters is on page 1. The submitted PDF was last modified on a device registered as DALE-WF-HP, a Hewlett-Packard laptop belonging to Dale Whitford. The modification timestamp? February 28, 2022. 3 days before the grant application deadline. The metadata is embedded in the file's properties layer, invisible to the reader, permanent to the analyst. Dale Whitford did not delegate this. He did not ask a clerk to adjust a number. He sat at his personal laptop and changed 38 to 112. He inflated the number of children disciplined in his district by 195%. He attached their names. He attached their student identification numbers. He submitted the document to the state of Georgia to secure $1.2 million in annual funding, a portion of which was then paid to his own construction company for work that was never performed. The forensic accountant's earlier finding connects the circle. The grant funds the HVAC project. The HVAC project funds Whitford Construction. Whitford Construction builds nothing. The gymnasium still has window units. The money disappears into invoices for materials never purchased and labor never performed. Children were turned into numbers so that numbers could be turned into dollars. Okay, hold on. I need you to stop scrolling, stop whatever you're doing, and sit with this for a second. 38. That's the real number. 38 kids actually got referred. And this guy, on his own laptop, at his own kitchen table, typed 74 more names into a federal document. Kids with perfect attendance. Kids who never once sat in a principal's office. He turned them into problems on paper so he could cash a check. Look, I've told a lot of stories, but this is the first time a spreadsheet pissed me off more than the slur. Caldwell adds the original application and the metadata report to his pre-hearing brief. He delivers the brief to Judge Carolyn Dawes' chambers by courier at 4 p.m. on Tuesday. Dorothy Sams kept the receipts for 5 years. She did not know she was keeping them for Elijah Moore. The hearing is set for Thursday, courtroom 2B, 9 a.m. Fletcher irons a white shirt, the same one he wore to the school on day 3. Elijah asks if he can come. Fletcher looks at his son for a long moment. "Yes," he says. "You should be there." Thursday, 9 a.m., Crestwood County Superior Court, courtroom 2B. The gallery is standing room only. The pews creak under the weight of families who arrived an hour early to find a seat. The stenographer's keys scratch in rapid bursts. Sunlight through the slatted blinds casts parallel lines across the judge's bench, thin bars of light and shadow that move slowly across the wood as the morning deepens. Judge Carolyn Dawes enters. She is 61. She does not smile. She does not need to. The courtroom stands and sits in a single motion, like a breath. Caldwell presents the evidence, each receipt in sequence, each in 1 or 2 sentences. No theater, no repetition, just the record. Eyewitness testimony. A teacher aide and 6 students confirm the slur. The school's refusal to produce camera footage under the Open Records Act. 9 years of disciplinary data showing a 74% referral rate for 23% of the student body. Board meeting minutes documenting a formal vote to maintain a referral quota tied to federal grant eligibility. A spreadsheet edited at 11:14 p.m. on the night before 4 consecutive quarterly reports. An email chain in which the board chair instructs the principal to keep the numbers up, and the principal replies, "I'll pull from the usual pool." A forensic audit showing $340,000 paid to the board chair's own construction company for an HVAC system that does not exist. A federal grant application listing 112 disciplinary referrals, when the original draft, recovered from a retired clerk's storage unit, lists 38. And finally, the security camera footage, surrendered under court order 2 days before the hearing. The footage, verified by an independent audio analyst, shows Gerald Prescott standing at the gymnasium podium. He does not lean away from the microphone, he speaks directly into it. The words are clear. "Dirty, black farm kid." The audio was broadcast through the gymnasium's PA system into the hallway speakers and recorded on the school's own AV archive. 400 students heard it. The system preserved it. Prescott's attorney rises. He argues administrative discretion. He cites board-approved policy. He does not address the forged grant application. Judge Dawes interrupts. It is the only time during the hearing she speaks before counsel finishes a sentence. Her voice is low, unhurried, and final. "Counsel, administrative discretion does not extend to fabricating data for federal funds." She grants the emergency injunction. Elijah Moore is to be reinstated immediately. All records are to be preserved under court seal. An independent auditor is to be appointed. Gerald Prescott is barred from all school district property pending a full investigation. Outside the courthouse, Whitford's attorney reads a prepared statement to 3 reporters. Mr. Whitford cooperated fully with the proceedings and looks forward to the opportunity to clear his name. Fletcher walks out the front doors. The afternoon sun is low. Elijah is sitting on the stone steps, his backpack between his knees. Fletcher kneels. The same posture, the same level gaze, the same red clay pressed into the courthouse steps as the clay pressed into the floor of a chicken coop 6 days ago. Let's go home. 3 weeks later, morning. Elijah Moore walks through the double doors of Crestwood Middle School. His boots have red clay on the soles. No one says a word. Gerald Prescott is indicted on 2 counts, falsifying public records and misuse of federal education funds. Dale Whitford is indicted on 3: wire fraud, embezzlement of federal funds, and conspiracy. The state of Georgia rescinds the behavioral intervention grant and opens audits of 12 other districts that received similar funding. Nora Bennett wins the Georgia Press Association's award for investigative reporting. Dorothy Sams is invited to testify before the Georgia State Board of Education's Oversight Committee. Second Baptist Church establishes a student rights advocacy clinic open to any family in the county. Dawn on the Moore farm. The same porch, the same clay. But Elijah is beside his father now, filling the feed bucket. There is a new hen in the coop. Elijah has not named her yet. A child's dignity is not a line item on a grant application. Fletcher Moore proved that, not with a shout, but with a binder, a helicopter, and the quiet refusal to look away. If this story reminded you of someone who stood up when it mattered, share it. Subscribe so the next story finds you. And if you have a word for what Fletcher did, drop it in the comments. Here's the thing I can't shake. Right now, not in this story, like right now in real life, there's a kid sitting in a plastic chair somewhere, feet dangling off the floor, being told they're the problem. And somebody up the chain is cashing in on it. So if that kid was you, or if you were the parent who got that phone call and had no idea what to do, talk to me. Tell me about it. Because Fletcher didn't win this with a helicopter. He won it with a binder and the stubborn refusal to look away. But man, he shouldn't have had to do it alone.